All right, guys, you all can take a seat. If you guys haven't done life with us, you guys may know underneath your chairs, we got notes for you guys at the end of the aisles. We got Bibles for you guys. You guys need some, but it's fun. I missed you guys last week. Obviously, you guys know Patty and I had our baby girl last Wednesday. We actually born like a 12-12 was like the easiest time to remember, so like I'm thankful for that. But tonight we have our good friend Colin coming and sharing the word with us. Now Colin's a student here at University of Florida. He's actually a senior, and he's actually planning on staying on staff here for a year or two longer. Hopefully one day he's praying that God will move him down south where he can help start plans a church and a club at another college down south. And so we're so honored, I'm so honored that Colin's here tonight to kind of share a word with us about friendship and all of that. So guys, get a round of applause for Colin. Colin, hello. Thanks. I'm really glad to be here. I've actually never been here before, which is really cool. Yeah, like Chris said, I'm a senior. I study philosophy. There's a joke in the world of philosophy. There was this guy called Socrates, and he always talked to the youth like yourselves, but he was executed for corrupting the youth. So I pray that I don't corrupt you guys. Yeah, but to get started, I was talking to one of the girls in the back. I have a question. When is it acceptable to start playing Christmas music? Before or after Thanksgiving?
Oh, before. I just listened to some today.
Raise your hand for after.
What are you talking about?
Raise your hand for before.
Yes.
So anyway, tonight I wanted to talk a little bit about friendship, sort of the why behind friendship, what friendship should look like, and what that means. So as a little introduction, look at the person next to you or behind you, talk to someone near you, and take like 1 minute, describe your relationship with your best friend. And then I want you guys to so hang on. Describe your relationship with your best friend, and I want you to pick like two or three like qualities. Like maybe 1, 2 or 3 words I can describe your relationship. Go ahead. So, can I get a couple people to share like 1 word they have? Yes. Crazy? Okay. What about any others? Gamer. All right. Strong. Okay. You got strong.
Smelly.
Supportive. Okay. Quirky. What do you got? Swaggalicious. Great one. Great one. Very good. Very good. Inseparable. Okay. Any others? Any other words?
Go Taylor.
I don't know Taylor. You're Taylor. I do know Taylor.
Oh.
What's your word?
No.
Intentional. Okay. So yeah, so I think these are good words. There seems to be a theme. Maybe some of them are like quirky, smelly, swaggalicious. And I think it's really cool when we get to like a friendship at that point where we can be really honest and not trying to hide behind like some facade of being really cool. But like, yeah, our friendship is quirky. That's really cool when friendships get that deep. And on the other side, we have things like strong and supportive and intentional. I think also like these are really important to good friendships. Senior at UF, I've lived in the dorms all 4 years. I've had a different roommate every year. So I kind of want to frame like the second half of what I'm going to say through my experience. My first roommate actually lived with two guys. We were random roommates. We met on like the UF roommate meeting app, and we were friends, and we did become friends, but we didn't really share much of our lives together. We lived together, and so like a lot of our interactions were based on just being good, polite roommates. And it's kind of the cliche, like, oh yeah, this guy's my roommate. He has his half of the room. I have my half of the room. And we would talk about our day sometimes. We were definitely there to help each other sometimes. Like I remember one of my roommates was joining a fraternity. Part of joining the fraternity was having to memorize like names of all the other people in the fraternity. So I would sit there with him before his meetings, like going over all the names, seeing if had anyone memorize. Some of us, like my other roommate Liam, we would play like chess together or video games together. And so we were there. We were definitely friendly, but that was kind of the extent of our friendship. And there wasn't much as far as like growth, really encouraging each other. Like we never would ask each other like, hey, how can I pray for you? Or like, what are you struggling with right now? Is there any way I can be supportive of you? We never really sacrificed anything either. I think that's kind of important to note. My second roommate was a guy I met through the BCM at UF. This was my sophomore year. And we definitely were supportive of each other. And we were willing to sacrifice some. I can remember he was going through a hard like breakup at one point. And we spent a lot of time together talking about that. Similarly for me, I had some, we'll say some rejection. He was there to like console me. And we definitely also, my roommate sophomore year, like we accepted each other. And all of these people, like I'll say, were friends. And he was a strong believer, no doubt. But there wasn't much in the way of like challenging each other. And again, I would say like I didn't have too much growth through my interaction with him. I do remember we were both very accepting of each other, I'll say. I had this one math class, and I would try so hard to finish the homeworks before they were due. But due Fridays, every Thursday night, I'd stay up till at least 1 a.m., sometimes like 3 or 4 a.m. trying to finish this homework. But you guys get it, I guess. Similarly, I remember one time, how many of you guys play Pokemon? Okay, I don't, but the new Pokemon game, I think it was called Sword or Shield, or Sword and Shield. That one had just come out. He had just gotten it, he was playing a lot. So he was playing, I went to sleep. I woke up to some noise. I looked at my watch and it was like 2 a.m. And I got out of bed, and there were like Kyle and 5 other of our friends trying to beat some really hard level on Pokemon Sword and Shield. I was just like, oh, okay. So I played with them for a little bit. But so again, we had like someone who I picked, the first 2 were random, this guy I picked to be my roommate. And so that was cool. And we were really good friends. But I still won't say like I grew a lot from that friendship. And then the last friend, I have a 4th roommate now. But my 3rd year, my junior year, I lived with this guy, Raymond, who some of you older guys may know. He goes to Westside Baptist Church here. At the beginning, we were barely friends. Like of all the people I lived with,
he was the person I was the least friends with. I had a hard time finding a roommate. I remember just praying like, okay, God, please give me a roommate. And that day he said, hey, I'm looking for a roommate. And so we lived together, but we barely knew each other. That being said, we really shared life together, like a lot of it. Trying to reach guys on our floor, and through the small group we had, we shared a lot of ministry together. We also just had a lot of life. So similar again, when things with girls came up, where like school was hard, we were there for each other. We definitely accepted each other. But one thing that stands out to me, this will kind of segue into the next part here, is that Raymond was really willing to challenge me. And he would call me out when I was lazy or two-faced. He was willing to say like, no, Colin, like you're doing something wrong here. And he was willing to kind of like stake a little bit of conflict to put himself out there. I remember there was a month when I had this guy, Evan, and I, we were meeting up every morning at 7 a.m. to read the Bible and pray. And sometimes Evan would tell me like, oh, I'm not gonna get a lot of sleep. I'd be like, Evan, we committed to this, you should do this. You know, it's sort of that kind of interaction. But then flip the script. There was one night when it was like 3 a.m. and I hadn't gone to sleep. And I was about to text Evan like, hey man, I'm not gonna get a lot of sleep. I don't think I'm gonna make it tomorrow morning. And Raymond just looked at me and he's like, that's wrong. You're doing the exact thing you told him not to do. And he was really willing to call me out. And he cared a lot more about my character than he did about my comfort. I think that's something that really set Raymond aside from these other two roommates. If you guys ever get a chance to meet him, he's a great guy, fantastic guy. So what I want to talk about now is how to evaluate our friends and our friendship. And so I want to make a claim, and I will explain it some in true philosophy fashion. I think a lot of times we pick friends not based on a list of like character traits, but just based on acceptance. And so I know when you say like, oh, my best friend, and you guys listed a lot of great character traits, and I don't think those things are false at all. But I think a lot of the times, naturally, we tend to become friends with the people who accept us the most. And now, maybe this isn't necessarily a bad thing, and it is not that like everyone who accepts you has some like secret motive or something like that. I just think that's something important to be aware of about like the way we think. Is that a lot of the times like we can sit here and be like, oh yeah, I don't do these things, I do these things. I want a friend who isn't like this and is like this. But when it gets down to it, I think if you guys really look and see like, okay, who have I become friends with? I think being accepted is a big factor. And that's cool. Like we are supposed to accept each other. But I think there can be a danger with that. Do any of you have, well, I know you guys do, I see Bibles all around. Could someone look up Proverbs 13:20 for me? Somebody. Would you mind doing it for me? Yes. What's your name, man? Josue. Thank you so much. When you find it, you can just go ahead and read it. Also, to be clear, like when it comes to acceptance, I am by no means perfect. I definitely got dressed tonight to come here thinking, what are like the coolest clothes I have? So this is definitely something that affects me too. Go ahead, Josue.
Did you say
13:20.
13:20? He who walks with the wise grows wise, but a companion of fools suffers harm.
Yeah. So I have it here. He who walks with the wise grows wise, but a companion of fools suffers harm. And so a lot of the times, being accepted is often easier than sticking with friends who are more willing to challenge you. But I think we really need friends who are intentional about our character. So as opposed to having friendship that's just based on feeling, someone who cares about your comfort and is willing to accept you, we need people who are really willing to challenge us. I think like as Christians, we need people who love us enough to have hard conversations with us. There's a couple verses I have here. Proverbs 27:17. You might have heard it. It's a little cliche, but as iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. And so a friend who cares about your character is really willing, like Raymond was with me, to call you out. Say like, no, I don't think you're doing the right thing. Because they're willing to look past the conflict and say like, this is something that they need to grow more like Christ. There's Proverbs 17:17 that says, a friend loves at all times, and a brother is born for times of adversity. This doesn't just say a friend accepts you at all times, or a friend will be your yes man at all times, but a friend loves you at all times. I think love often, when we look at the Bible, or even I'm sure your guys' relationships with your parents, if it's like mine, like there's a lot of tough love sometimes, and that isn't fun in the moment. And sometimes it's really hard to feel accepted. Like sometimes when Raymond was calling me out, I definitely didn't feel loved. Or if I did, it was like, I know you love me, but like I don't feel like it, like I'm not happy. But it's really important, I think, to look past just the superficial. So as a sort of question to think about for a second, which would you guys think is worse? An enemy or a fake friend? Fake friend, okay. Quick responses. Can you tell me why? Yeah.
Because
They'll never stick up for you? Okay. They won't have your back. I mean, an enemy doesn't have your back either.
But you know it's coming.
But you know it's
Yeah.
coming, yeah. You're gonna say.
an enemy will challenge you.
An enemy will challenge you. That's true. I think an enemy, who said you know it's coming? Yeah, an enemy is honest. A fake friend is like kind of a liar. Like somebody says, I'm your friend, but then when the going gets tough, they're not there with you. I think in the Bible, Paul, like he had a lot of friends, and then when stuff got hard, like a lot of his friends kind of dropped off. And at one point, he had all these people with him. And at one point in his writings, he says, well, I only have Timothy left, so I'll send him to you. And so those people might not have all been fake friends, to be clear. But there is something to be said for like someone who is honest, someone who really sticks with you. So to sort of wrap all of this up, I think it's important to know that this doesn't only apply to your friends. I think this is something that applies to you too. And so you need friends who will challenge you in your character and not just let you stay comfortable. Similarly, I think you need to be willing to challenge your friends in their character and not just let them stay comfortable. As I was working on this, my girlfriend shared a quote. She said I should tell you guys this. Do you love your friends enough to have an uncomfortable conversation with them? Or would you rather just be safe so that they'll still accept you? I think don't let it be a rhetorical question, just think about it. But I'll be honest, I'm not perfect, and sometimes I definitely try to just play it safe. I'll tell one more story. I had a friend, Mark Land, from high school. We were pretty much best friends. We used to build like model rockets together, and we played in a band together. Then we got to college. I had been a Christian my whole life, so had Mark, but I really started caring about my faith when I got to college. And one day I was with my friend Tyler. We were about to go to the BCM, and I saw Mark. And Tyler told me, he said, oh, you should invite Mark to the BCM tonight. And I, just as an instant response, said, oh, I think he's busy tonight. I didn't know if he was busy, but I had known Mark before I cared about my faith. And since then, I had really started to care about my faith. And in that moment, I didn't want to lose or risk my friendship with Mark. And I would rather just not step out. It's just inviting someone to the club I go to, the Christian club I go to. But I was too scared to step and own, I'm serious about being a Christian now. That moment, really hit me hard. Right after that, Tyler and I apologized to him and told him, and we had a long talk about it. But that's a question I want to leave you guys with to think about tonight is, do you love your friends enough to have an uncomfortable conversation with them? Or would you rather be safe so that they'll still accept you? Now, this doesn't mean that you should abandon all of your friends who don't challenge you. Or this doesn't mean that we just need people to accept you and not be yes men. Like, true friendship is accepting. True friendship is not just being a yes man and saying yes to everything, but you accept people for a different reason than just their comfort. I think as Christians, as people who have Jesus and who have that love of Jesus, like, think about it from Jesus' perspective. Jesus is perfect, and all of us are not perfect. And like, Jesus, compared to Jesus, we got nothing. But Jesus loves us enough to accept us. He also challenges us. We have the Bible, which is like, if you read the Bible and tell me that you can just kind of coast through life and be comfortable, I would say, let's reread the Bible together. I think you might be missing something. And so similarly, that's the kind of friend that I think we need to be. And I think that is really important to friendship. It's caring more about people's character than just their comfort. So I think the band is going to come up and play one more song. I want you guys to think about now, before they start playing. Yeah, you guys can go ahead and come up. I want you to think about, like, who is your best friend? And what kind of friend are you like to them? Do you love them enough to have the uncomfortable conversations? Do you care about their character? Do they care about your character? I would really encourage you to think about what friendship as a Christian should look like, how this will affect your relationships. So you guys could close your eyes. Think about that for maybe 30 seconds. I'll go ahead and pray, and the band will start singing. Dear God, thank you for this time tonight. God, thank you for these guys and girls. God, I pray, Lord, that as this week goes on, they will consider what kind of friends you want them to be. God, I pray that they're really willing to stand on their character and not just their comfort, both in what kind of friends they choose and what kind of friends they have. God, I pray, Lord, for everyone here that we would really consider, okay, what does this look like and what are my relationships like? God, I pray that you would show us ways we need to change in our relationships. God, I ask all these things in Jesus' name.